Hey guys, in this video, I just essentially want to explain um, what the dark forest theory is. So essentially, we have to contextualize this a little bit first. So essentially, to understand the dark forest theory, we have to first know what the Fermi paradox is. So the Fermi paradox essentially states that considering that life can arise on planets and the alien might truly exist, um, why have we not encountered them yet? And this is going to be like a big question that a lot of scientists, that a lot of philosophers, that a lot of people who are trying to push for space travel and like searching artificial intelligence, not artificial intelligence, but um, basically alien life or just intelligent life outside of Earth talk about a lot. And essentially, um, the dark forest um, theory tries to explain this paradox. There's a ton of other explanations to this, and today I just want to talk about one single theory that I think is pretty interesting, at least in my own opinion. So, to start off, I want you to imagine a certain scene. So, you live in the forest, right? And essentially, this is a dark forest where you don't know who you're going to encounter. It's really, really hard to see, and you don't know like what is in the forest. You don't know if there's a deer. You don't know if there's another hunter or what's going on. But you yourself are a hunter, right, in the forest. And it's a pretty dark forest. You don't know um, what's around you. But now and then, you'll actually encounter another hunter, right? So once you encounter another hunter, the big question is, what do you do now? What do you do? So basically, you don't know whether they're hostile or friendly. And like whoever shoots first is the one who survives. And that is basically a huge idea of the dark forest theory. You want to stay hidden to survive, and if you end up meeting each other, um, then you have to shoot. So let's say you have the opportunity to cooperate as well. But the problem here is you can only play once. You only have one life. And in this sort of case in game theory, the most quote unquote optimal solution would be that you have to shoot. So this brings us to the dark forest theory. And essentially, this theory is the same exact idea that I just mentioned, but it's done at a much larger scale, basically at a universe scale. So basically, this is our sun right here, and these are many other different planets, or not planets, but other different stars with their own exoplanets where other aliens might live on. And the dark forest theory kind of imagines it this way. It imagines it where there is intelligent life, not just at our sun, but maybe like at Alpha Centauri, at uh, UV Ceti. And the reason that we don't see it is because everyone's hiding. And if you don't hide, if you tell everyone else where you are, then it's going to be like the hunter situation where someone else is going to basically annihilate your civilization in like a planet using a planet destroying sort of laser planet destroying like weapon, and essentially you have to stay quiet. So interesting thing about this idea too is that much more modern, like extraterrestrial intelligence, like people who are looking for extraterrestrial intelligence, tend to stay a little bit more quiet when just broadcasting signals. Um, when this kind of idea arose, people will start to figure out that hey, maybe it's a little dangerous to actually yell your actual coordinates out into space. What if someone decodes it and then figures out where we live? And like the very next day, or I guess not the very next day, but the very next 1,000 years, we might not be a civilization anymore. So there's a lot of theories pertaining to that. So, what is this built on? So I want to talk a little bit more about the theory behind dark force theory. And it's built upon two main ideas. It's built upon the idea of chains of suspicion and technological expansion. So, with the idea of chains of suspicion, you never know that the other person is really friendly. It's really hard to broadcast that. And essentially, it's really hard to broadcast that you're friendly as well. And this makes it so that we're just suspicious of one another when we encounter like extraterrestrial life. And essentially, um, this is even worsened by communication in space. And that's because what like a message could take like hundreds of years to reach someone else, depending on where your solar system is. Could take incredibly long amount of time, and in that amount of time, you don't know if someone became hostile after becoming after they initially were like friendly. So the basic idea is hostile and friendly cannot be kind of broadcasted to other people. Hostile and friendly intentions. Talk a little bit about technological expansion. So that's another very, very big idea in this as well. So the other idea is let's say you wait, right? Let's say you wait. Well, let's say you wait, and you have some other civilization that you see them in the forest, but you don't decide to like bring your planet destroying weapon and kind of wipe them out. Well, the problem is there's a very very large distance between these two systems, right? And the problem is that let's say you want to like come over to them, right? Um, going at like for a 4 light year distance, going at 1% speed of light, which is very, very fast, by the way. It's not something that we can do with our own chemical rockets today. What occurs is that essentially it would take 400 years to reach them, right? And once they reach them, you're going to be dealing with this basically totally new civilization. Basically, like in the 1600s, there were no computers. We were still fighting with swords in the 1600s. If someone kind of went from 2000 to 1600 today, it would just be a completely different world. And that's because of incredibly fast technological explosion. And these are some really, really large ideas that basically govern this idea called the dark forest theory. And essentially, this is kind of this theory exists because of the very, very large distance in space. And what I can say now is we don't really know what is out in space at the moment. But this is a theory on why the Fermi paradox, um, that basically explains the Fermi paradox. Although it does have some holes too. I think one hole with it is the fact that we have telescopes. So any civilization that can basically make these planet-destroying weapons likely has telescopes where they can just sit down. They can image exoplanets or planets that are basically orbiting um, a sun like not like ours, and essentially they can just screen them and see if there's any intelligent alien life on them. Yeah, so thank you for listening. I just want to talk a little bit about the dark force theory because I thought it was pretty interesting, and wanted to share it with you guys.